Hi, in this video I want to talk about fairies, fairy life, where do they live, and fairy folk in Britain. And this information is based on my own research, and I'm sure there is a lot more to talk about when it comes to the fairies and many other opinions, but I hope you will still find this video useful in some way. Fae folk are as real as we are. People believe that they live in a parallel world that is just as corporeal as our own. There are many stories from which we know that fairies would steal human food, so they must eat the same things as humans. They can eat human food without injury, whereas a human tasting their food could be entrapped forever. Fairy is a term used to describe a very large group of spirits. I heard that they also don't really like to be called that way, but because many people know them by this name, I will be using it in this video. The modern image of a fairy is not very realistic. There are small fairies with wings and beautiful, but there are also many other types that look completely different. Some are old men, some are what we consider ugly, hairy creatures, some are very short and scary, some are the size of a human, others are taller than humans and extremely beautiful. You can also find others that are extremely small, like the size of a dragonfly. They just have enough in common to be in this category. There are many lovely ones that can bring many good things into your life. There are those who hate humans. There are also some who are very mischievous and love to scare people and just torment them. A lot of the time they would use glamour magic and present themselves as very beautiful maidens, but there is always something that betrays their true nature. Like the back of their head being hollow, having coattails, wearing long dresses to cover their hooves, and so on. Fairies can live hundreds of years. They have longer lives than we do, but they are not immortals. Different types of fairies have different types of personalities. Most common types of fairies are brownies or house elves. They are attached to specific houses, are hard workers that love to help around the house in exchange for offerings. It is said that they don't like material offerings such as clothing. It is offensive to them. Boggers, boogies, and buggles, they are all ill-tempered, tending to mischief and often have a desire to do harm. They like to trick, annoy, and scare. Fairies can be also secretive and they don't like to be spied on or observed. If you saw them by accident and you are quiet about their discovery, you might be rewarded. A person who betrays fairy secrets risks a great misshapes and fearful disaster. Another character trait is a strict code of morals. They have a clear idea how they believe that morals should comport themselves. They can also be kind to those they favor, but also vengeful and violent, and they have a love of mischief and they can go about that in different ways. Like making noise in houses, leading travelers astray, hiding in snares to scare farmers when they came to empty them, scaring people at night, making sleepers clean, faces dirty, knocking on doors and even blowing up candles at gatherings and then kissing the girls and punching the men. Lastly, there are those small fairies with wings associated with flowers. That is more kind of nature spirit altogether. They are reserved, timid, and gentle, kind, harmless, and helpful. To my knowledge, fairies don't like to be compared to humans, but they were regarded in many aspects as being similar to us. When it comes to what language they are speaking, it's an Elvish tongue containing elements of Welsh and Irish, with a bit of Latin, a Greek, but sometimes their language is just as otherworldly as their magical abilities are. In medieval times, there was a conception of a parallel fairy realm with its own society. Some fairies might live in caves and holes under lakes, on enchanted islands, in the vicinity of standing stones, on the shore, and in human houses and farms, in trees, in a ruined structure outside in the moors. And also nowhere. Some consider that they don't have habitations on our plane, as fairies are spirit visitors to our material world. About fairy clothing. Some people who encounter them say their clothing is very similar to our own. At the same time, there is something about the way they dress which betrayed fairy kind to humans who encountered them. It could be the color, and I don't want to go too deep into this subject, but they would wear green, red, blue, yellow and other colors. It could be that at the encounter, for example, the fairy was wearing green and women back then didn't use this color often in dresses, so it was strange. In many of the encounters, it was either that the clothing was an unusual color at the time to wear, or the clothing were of an earlier era. To the Victorians, they appeared dressed in the fashion of mid-18th century Georgians and so on. Some of them didn't wear anything at all, like hobgoblins and brownies. That is why gifting them clothes was an insult. Good neighbors is also a term that people refer to fairies. When working with them, it's very important that you learn as much as you can about them before trying to contact anyone, because, as I said previously, they, although similar in some ways to us, they don't have the same morals as we do. And some things that are kind to us might be offensive to them and so on. They can be kind, but they also can be very destructive and vengeful, so keep that in mind and do your research when it comes to working with them. I don't want to make this video too long, but there is a lot of things that I could talk about when it comes to fairy folk and fairies in general. I just want to see if people enjoy this subject, and I will be happily making more videos on this subject. I saw some videos with fairy encounters and it was so interesting to listen them, and I would love to know if any of you had any fairy encounters and how was your experience. If you want to support this channel, you can check my Etsy shop linked in the description down below. If you have any questions or video ideas, please let me know. Like this video, it would mean a lot. Subscribe for more witchcraft content and see you in my next one.